Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Gadadhara Shri Rasadi Gaura Purnima Festival Sri
1:30.
Yamuna Puline, So we have a ceremony this morning. So I request Shloku and Jai Shri Devi to come, bring Gopa.
Hey, cousin. Something special's gonna happen. Yeah, it's good.
Yes, yes. But the Chandran takes a long time. You have to do it first. Okay. Okay. No. What is in here? What's in it? No, you don't need it now. After the shaving is done, then you bring it back here, and then you now you take like the whole head should be covered in something. So you have to grind it out. If you have, you can add this to it. And So you can quickly make a this Nashringadev. Enough to cover the whole. It's this piece I think. Okay, that you did for a long time to cover this one. Which you can mix up the whole quickly and make a large amount. Okay? Yes. So yes, you should just sit here. Sit here. Or go on your lap. Yes, face me. Yes. And you can put those things down. You have a knife? Or you have a razor? Okay. So you should sit behind Jayashri. Okay. Sit behind her and look towards me. Oh, do you have flowers for the Sarasvati Bhakti?
Yes.
Yeah, you can distribute to everyone. You distribute to everyone. Huh? You can give some to me.
First of all,
So give to everyone quickly.
sorry.
So you can repeat. Om Swasti no Govinda Swasti no Achyutananto Swasti no Vasudevo Vishnu Dadatu Swasti no Narayano Naruvai Swasti naha Swasti no Yasvakseno Yashvashvaraha Swasti no Rishikesho Harir Dadatu Swasti no Vainateyo Hari Swasti no Antanasuto Adur Bhagavato Dadatu Swasti Sumangalai Kesho Shri Krishna Satchidananda Ghana Sarveshwareshwaro Dadatu Swasti Mangalam Bhavatu Rajbhaktir Bhavatu Radhasam Bhavatu Now you can sit down and you say what you want. You should repeat this mantra. Om Ayam Father. Ayam Agat Sarveshwara Sri Bhagavan Guru Kumaram Eham Avatu Vai Mundanam Mantra Avasayana Shurena. Look towards the warm water and you should repeat. Om Ayam Agat Sri Vishnu Guru Kumaram Eham Avatu Vai Mundanam Ushnodatkena. You should take a little bit of this water in your right hand and you should apply this. Just take water and put a little water above the right ear. Out here in your hand. Touch above the right ear. Repeat. Om Apa Undantu Jivase. Now take the razor. Look at the razor. Om Vishnu Dangstro Asikuru Kumaram Enam Avatu Vai Vishnu Sakshat Mundanam Shura. you should take some grass in the right hand and just touch above the right ear. Go up. Repeat this mantra. Om Achyutananda Narayana Kurvantu Kumaram Enam Chirajivinam Aushade Trayasva Enam. Now you should take the kush grass in your left hand. Hold that, just hold that in the left hand. And take the razor in the right hand. And just don't touch this, I'll just hold it above his ear this side. You can keep some distance so it doesn't turn around.
Yeah.
So you can repeat. Om Sankarshanaha Kuru Kumaram Enam Avatu Vai Mundanam Swadite Maenam Insihi. Now you should take the razor and cut a piece of grass. Yes. Okay. It's okay. Then repeat. Om Yena Purushottamaha Vasudeva Vishnu Achyutasya Chavavat Tena Tevapami Vaikuntena Jivanaya Dirga Yustvaya Balaya Vachase. Now you should hold the grass where the seeker, just touch the back of his head where the seeker will be. Okay. And now you should repeat. Om Yena Purushottamaha Vasudeva Vishnu Achyutasya Chavapat Tena Vapami Vaikuntena Jivanaya Dirga Yustvaya Balaya Vachase. Now you should hold the kush by the ear, hold the grass by the left ear, and then just touch. Okay, touch. Now touch it again with the razor. Yes. Okay. Put it down. Now you can put those things down, both, and you should hold the head of your son. Just hold his head with both hands. Repeat. Om Jamadagnis Trayayusham Om Kasyapasya Trayayusham Om Agastasya Trayayusham Om Yad Devanam Trayayusham Om Tat Te Astu Trayayusham. Okay, this part is complete. Now you can go in another room somewhere and I don't recommend using the way. Do you have a bhajan? Yeah. Use because it's more safe.
Yes.
And just shave everything and prepare your cup of the gobi chana.
Okay.
And maybe if you add some water, if you use warm water, it will not be shocking. Okay, let's put that and then come back with some whole flowers like this and bring them back and decorate.
Lead Sika?
Yes, with the Sika. Little joint. Hare It's not over yet, this is Act 1. Yesterday we were hearing about the tale in the marketplace of the holy name. That means the person has to sew together all the rituals of karma, of general life, and connect them with pure bhakti. So this is an example of that. astrologically auspicious day, so excuse us for the making a little disturbance in the program. Namashishtam manamapi Sachiputam atrasurupam Rupam prasakatamuri purim maturim kushnva Radha kundam Ahorarika madhvasam Praptoyasa pratita kripaya Shri Gurum Tam natosmi Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Nidalale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Ananda Vilamaya Vigrahaya Prema Bhadavyastavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Bhaktya Vihita Aparada Dakshe Chirtastu Kamari Kauram Kamade Viva Mahikam Sharam Prabhava Vrinde Namaste Chararavindam Vrinde Namaste Chararavindam Govinda Damo Karamadevi Govinda Damo Karamadevi Govinda Damo Karamadevi Govinda Damo Karamadevi Hey Krishna Hey Yadava Hey Saketi Govinda Damo Karamadevi Sham Sundar Shikanda Srikar Smaha Smrali Manara Radhikaras Kamama Kripandhe Sukriyacharna Kinkarim Kuru Tuvayavasmi Tuvayavasmi Najivami Prayavana Iti Vikyayo Devi Tam Namam Charnatikam. First of all, I offer my sustained my heart, my flowers, thousands of times at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev. Asmadiya Paramaradhatama Guru Pada Padma Nityalila Pravish Om Vishnupad Ashtotarasata Sri Rupanuracharya Varnya Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev, to Srila Prabhupad and to all of our Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Vanchakalpaturvasta, Kripasindhu Pelaka, Uditam Bhagavani Vaishnava. By the causeless mercy of Sri Guru and Gauranga, we had the fortunate opportunity to publish the Katha of Prabhupada Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakura. The original title of the book in Sanskrit, Upakhyane Upadesa. Upakhyane Upadesa. So many persons, they're aware of this Upakhyane Upadesa. So many short stories that was spoken by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakura. They were translated into English previously and they were available. However, what is not widely known is that was volume 1. And the volume 1, those stories, they were extracted from the Lokik Niti Shastra. That means there are texts that explain ethics, morality, and proper behavior, but they're filled with worldly examples. It is not actually from Paramarthik Transcendental Shastra. Books like Panchatantra, like Upadesa, and others. So the first volume, which was known and translated previously, it was from the Lokik Niti Shastra. But what was not translated before was the second edition, Dutiya Kanda. And all those Upakhyans means a tale that is didactic. It has some profound, valuable, practical teaching for us within it. So the second volume, that is filled with only the stories from the Paramarthik Transcendental Shastra. So volume 1 was Lokik and volume 2 Paralokik. So the sources for this second volume, which we published in the form of Vedic wisdom tales, we find the sources are Katha Upanishad, Kena Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, Sutashruta Upanishad. Also, many of the episodes are from Srimad Bhagavatam, from the Mahabharata, from Ramayana, and more modern, let us say, medieval times also. Not only the ancient Vedic times, but from the medieval times, Prem Vilas, and other books. So, many of these episodes, they're quite well known. But only a pure Vaishnava knows how to extract the essence from those histories. Many of the histories are well known and the teachings behind them have become somewhat cliched. But if we hear Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's explanation, it is completely fresh and actually quite shocking. Sri Krishna has said, Tato dusanga utsritya satsu sajjeta buddhiman santa evasya chindanti manovyasanga bhuktivihi. It means an intelligent person will seek out the association of saints, pure sadhus, and give up the association of worldly-minded persons who are deeply embedded in the material conception of life. In that association of pure Vaishnavas, then Santa evasya chindanti manovya sangam uktibi. They speak in such a way that their words are like a knife and they cut our material attachments. Because the vision of a transcendentalist and the vision of a worldly person who has the samskars of many, many lives of embodiment, being embodied. So therefore, such persons, their thought patterns are completely different to the conceptions, the swabhav, the nature, the vichar, the philosophical perspective, and the achar and behavior of liberated persons. So only by hearing from such liberated persons can our material conceptions be cut, our material swabhav become transformed, and our vichar, our deliberation of the nature of reality, can be cleansed, purified, and brought in tune with the absolute truth. So, these 34 stories, they are quite well known, and there's some danger that a person may read all of the stories and in the end think, well, what was that about? Because the stories are so different, they're from different times in history, they deal with so many varied situations. So I've composed a commentary on this Vedic wisdom tales in order to just highlight and extract what is called upadan. Upadan is the ingredient causes. Because when we hear Harikatha from pure devotees, by hearing from them, we should receive a sanskar, a deep impression about a particular perspective. And all of those deep impressions taken together, they are the upadans, they are the ingredient causes of success in our spiritual life and in our spiritual practice. So in the commentary, I have just briefly explained 16 essential upadans, essential ingredient causes of the success in our spiritual life, and indicated where we can find them throughout all the various upakhyans in this volume. So first of all, this question, who am I? Why do I exist? What is the goal of life? Many persons contemplate this question. But what is not immediately obvious to us is how utterly ineligible we are to find the answer to such questions. Generally, people today tend to think that they are a self-contained unit, having everything that they need to do whatever they want. But this is not a fact. We are quite ill-equipped to find the answers to these questions. And the reason is because of avidya, ignorance. So in the Shastra, Vedic Shastra, the nature of avidya has been described very scientifically. In common parlance, when we hear the word avidya, ignorance, we think perhaps it means being uninformed about something, or uneducated, or just being unaware of any subject. Or ignorance might mean that we know something, but we will willfully neglect it. So in this way, we have, in common parlance, an idea of what ignorance means. But in Vedic Shastra, avidya, this word avidya, ignorance, is a very scientific term. It's a very specific terminology, and it refers to an aspect of Sri Krishna's external material energy. This avidya has two parts. The avidya vritti of Maya, it has two parts. Avranatmika and vikshepatmika. So the first aspect of avidya, avranatmika, it eclipses the awareness of the living entity in such a way that his identity is just stripped down to the bare sense of I. I am this. But I am what I am, there's no idea. So Avranatmika, even though the soul by nature, Jivara Swarupa, Krishna Dasa Abhiman, Deyatmagnani Acharite Saidyan, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Srila Sanatana Goswami, that the Abhiman, the self-identity of every soul is, I am Krishna's servant. But this is covered by the bodily conception of life. So, though I am Krishna's servant, though I am an eternal soul and part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, but this is eclipsed by the Avranatmaka vritti, that is the covering potency, and it leaves only this bare, raw conception, I, with no context. Then, the second aspect of avidya is the vikshepatmaka vritti. That makes distraction. In other words, from pradhan, the ingredient material elements comes earth, water, fire, air, ether, and these are mixed together and they make all the objects of the world. So the vikshepatmaka now takes the attention of this I, and viksha means it throws. He becomes distracted and he becomes enamored and infatuated with the dancing of the elements in the world. And now he thinks, I am, and now he has some context. But this context is completely false. It's not who he is at all. neither his identity or his situation, the temporary situations that are flowing by in life after life. So, even though the soul is a divine and part of God, once our self-awareness and Krishna consciousness is in a state of vismriti, we have no awareness, we are oblivious by the covering potency, and we are distracted by the distracting potency, then, even though the self is beyond duality, is beyond birth, beyond death, beyond hunger, thirst, and fame, and honor and dishonor, profit and loss, and all the jubilation and tragedy of life, is beyond all of these things. But still, he feverishly thinks, I am this particular body-mind complex, and is always working to try to secure some safety and some gain and some type of enjoyment in the ephemeral sphere. Being in this condition, the soul cannot extract himself. Being covered by avidya, the power to free ourselves from this potency is not with us. So the Vedas say, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, go out of the darkness and into the light. But it's very difficult for the soul, because that light is the Supreme Lord, and he has no awareness of the Supreme Lord. Now, one thing which is very profound and psychological is that the avarnatmaka vritti, the covering potency, is not a positive entity. It's a negative entity. Just like the Vedas say, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, come out of the darkness into the light. Light is a positive entity. But darkness is just the absence of light. In Sanskrit, absence is called abhav. So the avarnatmaka shakti makes deep within our consciousness, on the deepest level, abhav, an absence, an emptiness. And then this absence, this emptiness, we project onto the world, because it's the base, it's the first tier of our thinking capacity. And all the other thoughts that we have, all our philosophical ideas, and so on, these are second tier functions, which are emanating from the basis of this abhav, this absence. And so the tendency is to think that the base level of the world is something unconscious. People think like that. Oh, what is around us? Oh, it does matter. At the base level of matter, there is something there. It's either an emptiness, or there's some kind of atom or something, some kind of particle that is completely unconscious and unchanging. Because it's the nature of abhav. An absence doesn't change. Right? An absence doesn't change. An absence doesn't require any support. So because absence is unchanging, absence is without support, absence is also not contaminated. So we project this absence, this abhav, which is deep within our consciousness, onto the world, onto ourselves, onto our body, and then we imagine that the things around us are unchanging. Now we know that everything is in flux, but people don't act like that. They act as if, oh, the situation I'm in, it's going to be like this forever. Just like the Yaksha asked Yudhishthira Maharaj, what is the most amazing thing? And Yudhishthira Maharaj said, the most amazing thing is that everyone saw that his father died, his grandfather died, his great-grandfather died, but everyone thinks I will not die. Why? Because the abhav, the absence, is unchanging. And that's deep within our consciousness, and we project it. But the world is unchanging. The basis of the world is unchanging. It's self-existent. It exists by itself without the constant support and active will and desire and presence of God Himself. Without the Supreme Lord, nothing could exist for a moment. It's like music. You hear music, but if the musician will stop playing, it disappears. So everything is existing in everyone only by the will of God. If we were not willing it, it would disappear. But we're thinking everything is existing by itself, unchanging, self-supporting, self-existent. And also, an absence is not impure. And so we feel ourselves, I'm not impure. I am not impure, the world is not impure. And the problem with that is that when we are deeply rooted in this idea that I am pure, I am not corrupt, then we become lackadaisical. We become free from the endeavor to become reformed. We are in need of redemption, but we feel, I'm okay. So these are the problems which come from this above, this emptiness in the heart. I don't need to be reformed. I don't need redemption. I am somehow perfect. But you know where the problem is? The world. I'm okay, but the world is wrong. And I have to fix it. The world needs fixing. My Gurudev used to give an example. There was one mechanic, and he was traveling. He went to the airport, and he sat down in the airport. And he sat down on the chairs in the airport. When he sat on the chair, the chair was wonky, it was wobbling. So he looked underneath. He saw, the screws are loose. So he had a spanner in his bag, and he took it out. He got underneath the chair in the waiting room, and he was just fixing it. While he was fixing it, he looked out the window and his plane was taking off. So my Gurudev used to say, don't be like that. Your plane is leaving soon. And we have to be honest. That means we have to fully surrender ourselves in Krishna's service so that we can cross over this ocean of material existence. But in the meantime, we become distracted. Because actually I am not in need of redemption. I am not corrupt. I am fine, but the world is wrong. Let me fix it. And we become engaged in trying to solve material problems. So these are some of the components of illusion that have to be cut. See, Krishna said, Anadya vidyuktasya purushasya navedanam soto nasam bhavadanyas tattva jnana dobhavet. When the living entity is anadi avidya yuktasya, he is united with this avidya since time immemorial, anadi, without any beginning. Swato na sambhava. It's not possible for him to free himself. He cannot get out because all of the remedies, all of the ideas he has are these second-tier thoughts. It doesn't matter how sincere he is. It doesn't matter how impartial he tries to be. But all his ideas are necessarily biased and theory-laden. Because they're second-tier thoughts emanating from that first tier of avidya, ignorance. So, Svatona Sambhava, it's not possible for him to free himself. Anyas tattvagyo dat jnana dobhavet. Therefore, there must be another person. There has to be someone else who can free him from this situation. So, who is that other person? That is Krishna. That is Krishna in the heart. Jive shakshat nahitati guru chaitarupe. Shishi Guru Hari Krishna Mahanta Swarupe. But because the conditioned soul also, he cannot perceive the presence of the Chaitya Guru, the Guru in the heart. So that Guru lives in the heart, is very kind, and he comes outside in the form of a pure Vaishnava to directly guide us and directly instruct us, to directly help us navigate through all the trials and tribulations, the pitfalls and traps of life, and attain our destination. Understand? This is Guru Tattva. That Lord who is in our heart has come outside in the form of a pure devotee. And see, Krishna is speaking through that Vaishnava to bring us to his eternal loving service. to become elevated from the contaminated and corrupt situation. Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gakasa panka. The scriptures say we should follow the Mahajans, the great devotees. So if a person is fortunate, they have the association of a pure devotee, and they have the chance to hear their instructions. But even hearing their instructions, many persons, you see, the mind is expert at creating justifications to deviate from the path of pure bhakti, from the path of anyahavilasana shunyam, the path of being completely devoid of even the slightest scent of any worldly motivation. So the mind is always looking for a way out, to wriggle out of this. So even having good association, the Satshishya is still rare. Sadguru is rare, but Satshishya is even more rare. We want to find the disciple. So, it's important to understand three things. Though the consciousness, the nature, the swabhav, the vichar, the conception, and the achar, the behavior of the high-level Vaishnavas is beyond our limitation, but still they give some prescription for us, a particular swabhav, a particular disposition, a particular vichar, deliberation, and a particular achar, method of conduct, which is suitable for us, which is attainable for us, which we can follow and we can practice in such a way that if we do that, then our level of eligibility will be raised and will come from the lower stage to the higher stage of consciousness. So in this book, Vedic Wisdom Tales, there are so many varied stories, and I'll not go too much into the stories today, but I just want to speak about 16 upadanas, the ingredients of swabhav, disposition, of vichar, of philosophical perspective, and of achar, conduct in our life, that guarantee that we can hear the message, the Shabda Brahma, the message of Godhead, coming from the lotus lips of pure Vaishnavas, without any mic vyavadan, without any interference, without any obstruction, which makes the spot, that is the bursting. The spot means bursting. I think that it's the English cognate of the Sanskrit word spot, or the Sanskrit word spurti, is sprout. Like a seed bursts open, and then its true nature comes out. So in the same way, the Harikatha and the holy name, Atashi Krishna Navadi Nabhavad Graham, they cannot be perceived by the senses. The holy name is Van Manasa Agocharatva. It has the quality of being beyond our power of speech and our power of thought. But still, Sevanmukhi jivado swayameva spuratyadaha. When a person is sevanmukh, completely attentive, serving with body, mind and words fully, then swayameva spuratyadaha. There is this sport, the bursting of that transcendental sound into the consciousness and the direct realization of the Advaita, non-dual supreme reality. So if one will adopt these upadans, these ingredients in his life, then the message can be received unmitigated in its pure and pristine form, which is not different from the direct experience of Sri Krishna and his eternal service. So first, number one, Guru Karana. It's become fashionable these days to formally accept. It's become fashionable these days to formally accept the Guru, but then go away and be completely independent. So Tantra. Then a person, they will study what they like, they will sing what they like, they will worship any form of deity that they like. So this is unheard of in Vedic culture. In Vedic culture, there is a concept called Guru Karana. I will learn what Gurudev teaches. And I will not be independent. So, especially because all types of sadhana, they don't produce any results unless they are infused with Krpa. Mahat Krpa bina kaun kama bhakti nai, Krishna bhakti duri rahe, sangsar nahi shay. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami said, any activity that you do, even hearing, chanting, remembering, and so on, if it's not infused with the Mahat Kripa, with the mercy of a great Vaishnava, then, or to speak of being bhakti, one's entanglements within the material world will not become slackened even. So the importance of the Guru Karana is there in the history of Satyakama. Satyakama is a very beautiful history. There was a young boy, and he said to his mother, "Oh mother, I want to be a brahmachari and live in the ashram of a guru. So please tell me, what is my gotra?" So his mother was a maidservant, very low caste. She said, "Well, I cannot say what is your gotra, that means your family line, because I'm a maidservant. And when I was younger, I served in the houses of so many wealthy men, and during that time, I attained you. So you should just say, my name is Jabal, my mother's name is Jabal, so you should just say, I am Satyakama, and my mother's name is Jabal, so I am Satyakama Jabal." So then the boy, he heard this, "Oh good, okay, let's go." So then he left home and he went to the ashram of Gautam Rishi. When he arrived there, he said, "Oh Gurudev, please accept me, I want to be your disciple and live as a brahmachari in your ashram." So then, according to the custom, Gautam Rishi said, "Yes, and what is your gotra?" He said, "Well, my mother is a maidservant, and she was serving in the houses of so many wealthy men when she was younger, and during that time she attained me." Gautam Rishi said, "You must be a Brahmin." Why? Because only a Brahmin, that means a person whose heart is pure, and they have saralata. Saralata means simplicity. Can just speak the unvarnished truth as it is. So see that he was so simple. Though he was not born in a Brahmin family, it shows actually that the Varna is not dependent on birth alone, but rather it's dependent on qualities. So he said, "Oh, you must be a Brahmin, you go and take bath in the holy river and come back," and then he was initiated by his Gurudev. So then his Guru gave him responsibility. This is very important. My Gurudev, he used to walk around the mart and look inside the rooms. If he saw any brahmachari lying there, "What are you doing? What is your responsibility?" A human being without responsibility is an animal. So those who are fortunate, after receiving the initiation from Guru, it's not just a formality or a ceremony and now go away. Now, one should take the responsibility upon one's head. My Gurudev was very expert. He would put the responsibility and stick another one on top of that and another one until your feet are sinking into the ground. So there's no room for anything else in one's life because there's so many responsibilities. So he said, "I have 400 sick cows. I want you to take care of my cows." So then Satyakama, he set off and he took these 400 sick cows into the forest to graze, and he made a vow: "I will not return to the ashram until Gurudev's herd is 1,000 strong." 1,000 healthy cows and bulls. And so he was taking care of them all with great affection. Vishrambena Guru Seva. And then one night when he brought the cows and made them rest, and he lit a fire, one bull came to him, and the bull began to speak to him and explained to him that Ekpat Vibhuti, 1/4 of the Vaibhav, the opulences of Parabrahma, the Supreme Truth. And then the bull said, oh, tomorrow you will be instructed by the Agni Dev, the fire god. So actually, you can shake your head and say, oh no, a story with talking animals. So it's not like that. Rather, because he was absorbed in serving his guru, all the gods, the devatas, they wanted to help him. So Vayudev, the god of the wind, or of Pran, the god of the wind, Vayu, he entered into the bull and was speaking through him. He received that knowledge, then the next day, in the evening, when he lit the fire, then the fire began to speak to him. Then the next day, a swan began to speak to him. It was the Surya Dev, appeared in the form of a swan. And then the next day, in a Madhu, one bird, a diver bird, the Pran Devata appeared in the form of the Madhu bird and instructed him. And now he had heard all four parts of the Vaibhav, the glories of Parabrahma, the Supreme Truth. And he became enlightened. So then, Satyakama, he saw that all of his, now the herd was 1,000 strong, healthy cows and bulls. And he brought them back from the meadows and he came back to the ashram of his guru. And when he approached his guru, then the Gautam Rishi looked in his eyes. And from his eyes he could see that he'd become enlightened. He could see that he was no longer in a state of bodily identification. He was no longer affected by Maya. His Gurudev said, "From whom have you heard?" Satyakama said, "Oh Gurudev, I have not heard from any human being, but I know that unless one hears instructions directly from the lips of Mahanta Guru, one's physically present spiritual master, maybe Diksha Guru, maybe Shiksha Guru, but unless one hears directly from the lips of Guru, then one's knowledge cannot become successful. So Gurudev, please explain to me the four parts of the bhutis of Parabrahma." Then Gautam Rishi repeated the knowledge again. And by hearing the knowledge from his guru, then he became completely siddha, completely perfect, and he himself became a great acharya afterwards. He became the guru of Upakhyane Rishi. So this is an example. It is said in the Guru Puja song that we sing every day. Vedigai Jahara Charito. Oh Gurudev, your glories are being sung through in the Vedas. So Vedas means, especially the Shruti, the Upanishads. This is an example of the dynamic of Guru and disciple which is given in the Upanishads. So what is most important here is that even though Satyakama had become advanced in knowledge, he didn't become proud. And he returned to his Gurudev and said, "Gurudev, please explain this subject to me." He didn't think, now I know everything. Please explain this subject to me. So this history is there to give the example of Guru Karana. What my Gurudev is teaching, I want to learn that. I want to know that. The ocean of knowledge is such a thing. You can never know everything. But Guru will give us that understanding, which will practically bring us into the eternal service of Radha and Krishna under his guidance. That means Guru Rupa Sakhi. Gurudev has the form of a beautiful gopi of Vrindavan. Under the guidance of Sri Rupa Manjari in the group of Lalita Sakhi and serving Radha and Krishna. So that, we don't want to know everything. Mahaprabhu said, "Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam bhaja gadishana kame." I don't want followers, I don't want money, and I don't want kavita. That is a great learning. To become known as a scholar of all types of poetry and so on. Why? We want to receive that knowledge that Gurudev wants to give us. Because that's not knowledge for the sake of knowledge. That is only how to please Radha and Krishna. So the first ingredient, Upadhyane, is the Guru Karana. The opposite of Guru Karana is given in another history here. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakura tells the history of Ekalavya. So you know that Ekalavya, he was a wild person living in the forests. And he approached the Dronacharya. And he asked him, oh, please, can you accept me as your disciple? But Dronacharya did not accept him. So what did he do? He made a murti of Dronacharya. And then he was bowing down and he was worshipping that deity of Dronacharya and practicing archery in front of him every day. And he became so skilled, he became more skilled than Arjuna even. And one day Arjuna was going in the forest and he heard a dog barking. And then suddenly the dog became silent. And he saw that someone had shot arrows filling the mouth of the dog in such a way that he could not bark, but at the same time the dog was not even injured, there was no cut. And when Arjuna saw this, he thought, I couldn't do that. Someone has more skill than me. And he felt disappointed. So, many persons, they explain, just see, Arjuna was envious of Ekalavya. Because Ekalavya had more skill than him. And Arjuna felt insecurity, and that's why he went and complained to Dronacharya. So these are the types of explanations people come up with. But this is completely wrong. The fact of the matter is that Dronacharya had told Arjuna, I will teach you in such a way that no one will be your equal in archery. And so the reason Arjuna was disappointed was because he could not reconcile. How could the words of my Gurudev not come true? It was nothing to do with himself. It was nothing to do with his desire. It was nothing to do with insecurity or envy towards someone more prosperous or successful than himself. It had nothing to do with any of those things. So then, he was searching, who has done this? And then he found that Ekalavya. And Dronacharya said, who are you? He said, I am Ekalavya, your disciple. He had become a disciple without permission. And he was doing so-called service under the guidance of his guru without direction. And he'd become empowered. But he wasn't empowered by Guru. He was empowered by Maya. So then Dronacharya said, if you are my disciple, then you should give a Guru Dakshina, because at the time of initiation, you have to give something to the Guru. And he said, yes, whatever you ask me for. So Dronacharya said, give me your right thumb. And then Ekalavya took a knife and cut off his right thumb and offered it to Dronacharya. So most people, they comment on this, Ekalavya is has such great Guru Bhakti. He's so devoted to his Guru. His Guru said, give me your thumb, and without hesitating, he cut off his thumb and gave it to his Guru. So he's a great Guru Bhakta. Some Gurus even call their disciples Ekalavya. It's true. But Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said, he's a demon. He's a demon. He has no love for his Guru at all. His motivation for practicing and worshipping Dronacharya is to get one-upmanship over Arjuna and the Pandavas. He has enviousness towards them, and he wants to bet, so he's doing his practice to become better than others. This is not devotion. And when he cut his thumb and he gave it to Dronacharya, he didn't do it out of the swabhavik priti, just the natural love and affection. Disciples should have swabhavik priti. Like Guru is like you're in the family of a Gurudev. If you live in a house with your father, then the son never thinks, oh, why should I do this, why should I do that? He loves his father and he does things just to please him. So the service to Guru should be like that, the swabhavik priti. But why did Ekalavya cut off his thumb? Why? Because of his ego. He wanted to be veer. He wanted to be a hero. He thought, if Gurudev said, give me your thumb, and I just cut off my thumb and give it to him, then everyone will see. Just see how I follow Maryada. I am a Dharmavir. I am a hero of the ethics. It was nothing to do with natural love. It was to inflate his own position. Another reason why Arjuna went to Dronacharya and said, oh, this has happened. This situation has happened. Someone has become more talented, more skilled than me. It was because Arjuna wanted to give a teaching to the whole world about Guru Karana. The necessity of accepting Guru and being trained, hearing and learning under Guru's guidance. He wanted to give this lesson. Because Ekalavya, he was independent, but he was externally making a show. He was doing puja and he was practicing before the deity and bowing down all the time. But really, he was swatantra. He was independent. When Lord Nashringadev appeared to Prahlad Maharaj, at that time, Prahlad Maharaj said, Evam janam nipatitam prabhava hikupe kama vikama anuya prapapan prasanga kritvatmasat surashina bhagavan grihite tats chapmane nuvisujay tavabritya seva. O Lord Nashringadev, you want to give me a benediction, but I must say that by associating with materialist-minded persons, I fell into a deep well full of snakes, or the snakes of desires. And I was being bitten by them again and again. And following these desires, I was just completely entangled in the material world. But what happened? Kritva atmasat surashina bhagavan grihite. Your Rishi, Narad Rishi, your dear devotee Narad, Kritva atmasat, he made me one with himself. This is so beautiful. You know? Atmasat. Atmasat is a beautiful word. Atmasat. What does it mean? Shakti buddhihim amihati din karamore atmasat Gurudev Krpa Bimdu Diya Korohi Dase Trinaprekshaati. Srila Bhaktivinod prays, O Gurudev, I have no power, I have no intelligence. Karamore atmasat, make me atmasat. What does it mean? It means that when we surrender at the lotus feet of Gurudev, then by his Krpa, he assimilates us and makes us a part of himself. The Guru's heart and the disciple's heart become one. Guru's senses and disciple's senses become one. Guru's pran and the disciple's pran becomes one. The disciple thinks, I am not independent. I belong to you. I don't even belong to myself. And that's the nature of the soul, actually. Just also one of the stories here is Balimaharaj. Balimaharaj, even though he was provoked, he surrendered everything at the lotus feet of Lord Vamanadev. But Lord Vamanadev bound him up with snakes and pushed him down to Sutal planetary system. But he did Atmanivedana. He surrendered everything at the feet of Lord Vamanadev. And that's why his name is Bali. You know what Bali means? Bali is the name of an offering in a sacrifice. The offering that you make in a sacrifice is called Bali. So the teaching here is that there are two types of consciousness. Vibhu Chaitana, the vast unlimited consciousness, Vibhu Chaitana, and Anu Chaitana, the minute atomic consciousness. So it is the swabhav, the nature of the minute atomic consciousness to be adhin, completely in the state of subordination to the Vibhu Chaitana. So the dharma or swabhav, the nature of the Anu Chaitana, is to be completely subordinated to the Vibhu Chaitana. And that's why his name is Bali. We all have to become Bali, completely offer ourselves to the subordination of the Vibhu Chaitana. And that's our nature. And as long as we remain not in that nature, then we remain covered by a false nature. Everything else is ahankar. Kartripta abhiman. The false sense of agency, being an agent within the physical plane. So, Ekalavya did not surrender himself. He was trying to inflate himself. He was not doing Guru Karana. But conversely, we see Prahlad Maharaj. He said to Lord Nashringadev, "Oh my Lord, I was floating in this material world, suffering in so many ways, but your devotee Narad, he made me one with himself. He made me a part of himself. Therefore, taschatmane, nuvishvijay, tavavritya seva. How could I ever leave his service? Once that connection is made, then the disciple cannot stop. Serving Gurudev all the time, 24 hours a day, day and night. Day and night. Like Srila Prabhupad, he used to wake up at 1 in the morning and write his books. Once he asked some devotees, "Why do I wake up at 1 in the morning and write?" So the devotees were quoting verses, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam Bhajan, whatever. Prabhupada said, no. They couldn't come up with the answer. Then Srila Prabhupada gave the answer. He said, "Because I cannot live without it." Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Rupa Goswami is that person who established within this world the mission to fulfill the innermost desires of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So similarly, each great Acharya in our Guru Parampara is living. Their every breath, their every step, their every thought is only how to do the Manobishta Seva, fulfill the innermost heart's desire of their Gurudev and their previous Acharyas. Because they're situated in the Nitya Dharma. They have become Bali. Their Chaitanya is completely subordinate to the Vibhu Chaitanya. So this is the relationship between Guru. That's why it's called Sadguru and Satsisha, eternal Guru and eternal disciple. You can see one thing some devotees notice, that if you go to the temples, then you see the parampara is there. Your Guru, his Guru, his Guru, his Guru. But when you come to our festivals or temples, you see the parampara is the other way. Going from right to left instead of left to right. So there's a reason for that. Because if you see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, on his right is the Vishnu Tattva, but on his left is the Shakti Tattva. Gadadhar Pandit, and the Bhakta Shiva Thakur. And Gadadhar Pandit, he's the Shakti Tattva, that means Radharani. Comes from the left side of Krishna. Because the heart is on the left side. Do you ever wonder why your heart's on the left side? Now you know. Because God's heart is on the left side to be closer to Radhika. Radhika expands from the left side of Sri Krishna. And from Radhika comes Lalita, Vishaka, and Rupa Manjari and others. And each of the Manjaris expand from the left. And so because our parampara, each Acharya is the expansion of his own Guru. Is the expansion of the bhava of his Guru. And therefore the parampara goes in this way. So when we attain our Nityasthiti, our eternal position and eternal service, then our Swarup will be the expansion of the bhava of our Gurudev. And eternally in Anugatya, like that. So, how we do it? There are 16 Upadans, and we've run out of time and just discussed one. I'll just cherry pick a few others here and there. Number 4, the absolute necessity of avoiding offences to Vaishnavas. Because of avidya, we have in the conditioned state a natural aversion towards Krishna. And so that plays out as also being a natural aversion towards his pure devotees. And this is why in the 10 offences to the holy name, what is the first one? Satam nindanam paramam aparadam vitarate. The offense towards the satam, the pure devotees. So, the conditioned mind, being averse to Krishna, also feels aversion to the association of pure devotees. And even though pure devotees, everything that they say and everything that they do is for our benefit, but due to conditioned nature, we may feel intimidated in some way and feel as if we're being antagonized. It happens. This is why it's difficult to associate with pure devotees. They're like fire. If you come close, then all the anarthas start trembling. Say, don't go any further. We'll die. We'll die if you stay here. Let's go outside and get some fresh air. So we have to be aware that certain aversion is there, and this is why Srila Prabhupada said, Shri Guru Karana Padma Kevala Bhaktisiddhanta Bando Muvi Savdhan. I bow down to Gurudev very carefully. Savdhan means with great care. Why? Because the conditioned mind has the tendency to be disrespectful in some way. And if, either by actions or by words or even by mind, we make some slightest antagonism towards a saint, then this will produce a backlash of catastrophic effects. Beginning with the loss of taste for chanting. Yeah? Chanting would it would be like chewing sawdust. No flavor. If there's no offense there, a person can very easily just sit down for hours and relish the sweetness of Sri Krishna's name. But if there's a dryness, one is not relishing the sweetness, it's because of the presence of some offense. So that's the first thing, the loss of taste in the holy name. And then, inadvertent philosophical deviations. You are convinced that you're right, but actually, you're following some Bhaktisiddhanta. And then more extreme, the awakening of uncontrollable material attachments. So all of these things, they are the fruit of any neglect towards pure devotees, and therefore the neglect of pure devotees, it must be avoided at any cost, and that's very inconvenient. It's really, really inconvenient. So this is why the example is given in the very beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? First chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's discussion of Guru Tattva, and then there's a history. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's own history. He was at his home, and one day, a great devotee of Nityananda, Minikaitan Ramdas, he came to his home. And the devotees stood up and they welcomed him, but Gunana Mishra, the pujari, he didn't stand up. Minikaitan Ramdas said, there's a second Romaharshan suit. You remember Romaharshan suit? He didn't, when Balaram came to a Nashringadev, he didn't stand up to receive him. He was saying, I'm sitting on the Vyasa side. Why do you have to stand up and respect anyone? Everyone should respect me. And so Baladev liberated him with a touch of kush grass. So Minikaitan Ramdas said, look, there's a second Lomaharshan suit. That Gunarnava Mishra accepted that chastisement and he didn't answer back. And because of this, he was purified by those words. But the brother of Krishnadas Kaviraj, he did not apologize, he didn't say anything, he did not respect Nityananda. He respected Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but not Nityananda Prabhu. So Krishnadas Kaviraj told him, you have the article Kutinyai, half a hen logic. You think the head of the chicken is good, the tail of the chicken is good because it gives eggs, but the head is no good, I have to feed it. So I can save money by cutting the chicken in half, just keep the eggs, and I won't have to have any expense. So that never works out. So you cannot accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without Nityananda Prabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving himself freely to everyone, just at the price of our asking. Oh Mahaprabhu, please give your mercy to me. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Koramori. Mahaprabhu is giving himself just at the price of asking. But the problem is that we don't have a sincere asking disposition. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared himself in the form of Nityananda Prabhu as the embodiment of the asking disposition. Nityananda Prabhu is like a child. Simple like a child. And he's completely free from any spirit of vengeance. He has no malice at all. Even Madai smashed his head with a wine pot, but he was still praying for him. He did not have any spirit of vengeance at all. So Nityananda is the embodiment of the childlike asking disposition, which is free from all malice. By worshipping Nityananda Prabhu, this disposition can come to us. And then when we beg Mahaprabhu for his mercy, seeing our sincerity then, Mahaprabhu fills the heart with Unnat Ujjvala Rasam, so Bhaktistriyam, with the nectar of Ujjvala Rasa, the gift that was never given before. So the brother of Krishnadas Kaviraj, Goswami, he was not accepting of Nityananda Prabhu. And when Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami saw this, what did he do? He just left home. It's kind of inconvenient, right? You're living somewhere, you're comfortable, and everything is fine. And then one person there makes an offense. And you think, well, it's not bad, maybe he'll change it because I'm very comfortable here. But that's not the example. The first teaching of Chaitanya Charitamrita is the example of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj. And he immediately left his home. And he was traveling, and then at night in one village he took rest, and Nityananda Prabhu came to him in a dream, along with all of his associates performing kirtan. And Krishnadas Kaviraj said, I have no virtues, I have no gun, attributes, but only on the basis of this one attribute, that I could not tolerate any offense. So Nityananda Prabhu appeared to me and gave me his mercy. He said, go to Vrindavan, there you will get the mercy of Govinda, Gopinath and Madan Mohan. There you will have the shelter of Rupa and Raghunath Das Goswami. So even though it's inconvenient, but still, worldly considerations cannot come into play in spiritual life. Only Mahajano Yena Katha Sapanta. So in this Vedic wisdom tales, this example of the inability to tolerate offense is there in the story of Sati. Sati, the wife of Lord Shiva. Her father, Daksha, invited her to come to a yajna, but didn't invite Lord Shiva. She asked her husband for permission to go. He said, I cannot recommend it. Daksha is very attached, an envious person. It will not be auspicious. And his followers are also like that. But anyway, she so much wanted to participate in this big social event. All the other demigoddesses were going. So she set off, and then she went there to the Daksha Yajna. And there were no offerings to Lord Shiva there. In fact, the whole yajna had been set up just as a huge disrespect to Lord Shiva. So seeing this, then Sati, she spoke very strongly. She said, oh, Mahadev is full of kindness. He never sees faults in others. He's such a person. Even if someone has, the middle level of person, the middle level of devotee, he will discriminate between good qualities and bad qualities. And seeing a small good quality, he'll magnify it and make it great. But the highest level of devotee, he does not see any bad qualities. He will see a bad quality and think it's a good quality. So Lord Shiva is so munificent, so magnanimous, and yet you are also offensive to him. My body was born from you because she's the daughter of Daksha. So I cannot tolerate to keep any relationship with you anymore. So I'll give up this body. And she sat in meditation, and by her yogic fire, she burst into flames. And she gave up that body. And in the next life, she was born as the daughter of the Himalayas. So Sati became Parvati. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakura, he said, don't compare the sati, or the self-immolation, the spontaneous combustion of Sati Devi with any famous great heroines throughout history. You see, in history of India, there are numerous occasions, especially in the medieval times. Sometimes a powerful king or a Muslim king would attack a Hindu kingdom and hold the fortress of a Dharmic Hindu king under siege. And so everyone was trapped, they couldn't get out, and the death was inevitable. And of course, for all the queens living in the palace, their death was not inevitable, because the soldiers would come, or the opposing king would come, and then they would violate them and keep them as their slaves. So it happened several times that the queens, they did the juhar. That means that they all together, they just set themselves on fire. Sometimes 100 princesses would just make a big fire and just all enter into the fire. And it was considered to be very dharmic, very chaste. But if you consider it, the reason they entered into the fire is because of the attachment to the physical body and enjoying, and the malice of no one should enjoy my body. So out of revenge, look, I'm going in the fire. And they would burn themselves as a kind of, to antagonize I would rather die in this fire than be touched by you. This is not a transcendental spirit. But compare this to Sati. Sati, she gave up her body because of its connection with Daksha, who had made offense to Lord Shiva. And therefore, she gave up she had no attachment to the body at all, and she gave it up out of intense love. And it was not intense love just because Shiva is my husband. It was because Mahadev is a bhakta. He's a devotee of the Supreme Lord. Vaishnavanam yata Shambhu. He's a great devotee of the Lord. And because he's been slighted, I cannot tolerate it. And Sati gave up her life. This sanskar should come. Hearing this pastime, this sanskar should come. It is not something negative. It's not really about suicide. It's about love. It's about deep attachment to our Gurudev and the pure devotees who have blessed us in our life. So those persons who remain calm and quiet and peaceful, and they have the sabhyata, shishtachar, very good social relations with those who commit offense. This is not the Vaishnava teaching. And it's not born out of some type of enlightened state of mind. It comes from Hridaya Durbalya, the weakness of heart, and the desire to be honored by others as well. So, Santa evasya chindanti manovyasanga bhuktivi. Only the pure Vaishnavas can explain the scripture in such a way that these contaminations can be cut from the heart. Let's just choose it. So that's an important upadana. Keep that impression. Acha, okay. Another upada. The necessity of preaching the glories of the holy name. Just like Satyakama, we heard the story of Satyakama. When he came to his Gurudev and he received initiation, then he didn't think, oh, now I'm a sadhu. I'm going to sit in the ashram quietly by myself and meditate. But he took responsibility and he worked very hard in his spiritual master service. So, one of the main services that the spiritual master, responsibility that the spiritual master gives to the disciple is to preach the holy name. So one should not think that this endeavor to go out and preach the glories of the holy name is an unnecessary and worthless distraction from bhajan. Sometimes you meet persons who have that kind of mentality. Yeah, I did some preaching a few years ago, now I'm doing my Nirjan bhajan. So, we should know that Srila Sanatana Goswami, he has said, Achar prachar name karva dui karya, tumi sarva guru, tumi jagatera arya. O Haridas Thakur, there are two karya, or two duties in relation to the holy name. Achar and prachar. Achar means we have to chant ourselves. We have to chant ourselves. 64 rounds is a good start. So that is achar. Chanting 1 lakh Harinam every day. Then prachar, to speak to others about the glories of the holy name. These are the two duties. So Tumi Sarva Guru, Tumi Jagatera Arya, Sanatana Goswami Prabhupada said, some persons they preach but they're not chanting, they're not practicing. And other persons they're chanting but they're not preaching. But you, Srila Haridas Thakur, your chanting is perfect and your preaching is perfect. Therefore you are Jagatera Arya, you are worshipable for everyone in the universe. You are the Guru of everyone. So this activity of spreading the glories of the holy name is not only beneficial for others. Don't think it's just about helping others, but it's beneficial for ourselves. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in South India, he said to the Brahmin, he stayed in the house of one Brahmin in South India. When he was leaving, that Brahmin said, take me with you. Mahaprabhu said, no, you should stay here, but one thing. Everywhere you go and everyone you meet, you should tell them about the name of Krishna and the teachings of Sri Krishna. Kabu na bhagivek tomar vishaya taranga puna api eitai parimora sangha. And Mahaprabhu gave a blessing. He said, if you do this, then you will never be obstructed by the waves of sense gratification. This is a great advantage. Raise your hand. Have we ever been obstructed by waves of sense gratification? Anyone? No. It happens. But it won't happen if one is absorbed in preaching the glories of the holy name under the guidance of a pure Vaishnava. If it's independent, then there's no guarantee. But if one is preaching under guidance, then it's very, very helpful. One will be protected. Mercy will come, and one will be protected. Just like once, we were in Italy at a festival, and Gurudev told everyone, go out and do a big Nam Sankirtan around this Italian village. So Shamarani said, yeah, but if I go and I chant, my chanting is not pure, so what benefit will it give to others? Gurudev said, you're going on my order. Amara Agaya means on my order. And because you're going on my order, some power will be there and it will have a great effect on others. One of some devotees asked Srila Prabhupada, we have read in your books that those who are preaching, they are Madhyamadikaris. So does that mean we are Madhyamadikaris? Srila Prabhupada said, I am preaching, and you just do what I tell you to do. Preacher is one who has realization. those who have realized the sweet moods of Vrindavan, they can impart that to others. But if someone is under the guidance of such a person, then we can become an instrument in their hands. And during that time, we'll be saved from so many various types of obstructions that come from this life and especially past life samskars. Impressions from the previous life. You see? In this Vedic wisdom tale, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakura, he does a very wonderful thing. He compares various histories. So let us compare the history of Subhari Rishi and Bharat Maharaj to the history of Rantidev. Do you know Rantidev Maharaj? He was a king, and he had been fasting for 48 days without water or food for 48 days. And then a plate of prasad and some water was brought before him, and he was just about to eat. And one Brahmin came. And so, seeing the Supreme Lord in the heart of everyone, he divided the food and he gave half to that Brahmin. The Brahmin ate. And then after his guest had eaten, then he was about to eat. And then another man came. One man was a Sudra came. So then he divided the food again and gave to that Sudra. So then again he was about to eat. Then a man came with some dogs. And he was seeing the Lord in the heart of everyone, the man and in his dogs as well. And what was remaining of his food, he gave to that man and his dogs. And now he had no prasada. Only a glass of water was there. So then he was just about to sip his glass of water when an outcast, a chandala, dog-eating person, very low-class person came and said, I am thirsty, I'm dying of thirst, please give me some water. And then he gave his water, now he had nothing. But he said, the moment I gave this water to this thirsty chandala, at that moment, my thirst, my hunger, my illusion, my lamentation, my fear, everything was completely lifted. The curtain of illusion was completely lifted. Na kamayam gatin ishvara paramastadi yuktam na punapavan va ati prapadek lideya bhajan antasito yena bhavat yadukaha. He said, Oh my Lord, I don't pray for liberation. I don't pray to have mystic powers. I don't pray to you for any kind of opulence. I am only praying that I can enter into the heart of all the people of the world and let me take their karma, let me take their suffering and let them be freed. Everyone else should be freed from misery. Let me take it on their behalf. He prayed in such a way. And his life was like, his whole life was for others, to benefit others. So then what happened? Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Surya, Chandra, they all appeared before him. All the demigods appeared before him. And actually, that Brahmin who came, the Sudra who came, the man and all the dogs, they were actually all the devatas. They were the demigods who had come to test him. And now they manifested their devata forms. So you know what happens if you get the darshan of a devata. You know what happened to Hiranyakashipu when he saw Lord Brahma. Then he asked for benedictions. Because when the devatas give their darshan to someone, it's because they're pleased and they're ready to bless them. So when Rantidev, he saw all the devatas coming to bless him, what did he do? He just gave pranam. Because he wasn't interested in receiving anything from them at all. All the opulence of the world was ready to be offered to him. It was there in the palm of his hand, but he had no interest. That means he conquered Maya. He conquered the elusive energy completely. He just gave pranam to them and continued to meditate on the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Now, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he makes a contrast here. just see the difference between Rantidev and Bharat Maharaj and Subhari Rishi. Rantidev was living among the people and trying to help them. But Subhari Rishi was alone and meditating underwater. But what happened? He saw some fish getting amorous, and his past impressions rose up, material desires, lust, and he let go of his breath and came out from the water and immediately went to the palace of Mandata Maharaj and asked to marry, and he got married to his 50 daughters. So 1 minute he was completely renounced, and the next minute he married 50 princesses. He was deviated from his sadhan bhajan. Why? Because he was doing his sadhan bhajan for himself. He didn't have to do anything for the upliftment, the upakara, the benefit of others. What about Bharat Maharaj? Also, being there alone underneath the water. He did not have sadhu sangha. Only sadhu sangha he had was sometimes Gurudev would come to take a fish and he criticized him. You see? The sadhu sangha came, but he criticized him. And so this is why this disaster happened in his spiritual life. Bharat Maharaj, he was alone in the forests. And what happened? He saved the baby deer from drowning. And he became attached. But really he wasn't attached to the deer. You see, he had renounced his household life. He had so many sons. And he'd given up attachment, but he had one young son. And the attachment to that son had not gone yet. It was just buried. And when he began to take care of that deer, then this sanskar, this impression of attachment from his previous activities was awakened, and he was projecting that material attachment, mundane affection which had not been removed, he was projecting onto the deer. And at that time, because he did not take sadhu sangha, he didn't associate with any advanced devotee who santa evasya chindranti manovya sangam uktivi. He did not associate with someone who by their words could cut that attachment so he could continue on his path. Therefore he became obstructed by that desire for sense gratification. And as you know, Bharat Maharaj, he fell down, he became a deer. His 3 lives went by. So just compare, on the one hand, Subhari Rishi is doing his Nirjan Bhajan, Bharat Maharaj is doing his Nirjan Bhajan, but they were unable to contain the very powerful samskars, impressions. Due to avidya, you can look inside and think, yeah, I'm pure, I don't have any attachments. Just wait and see. It's only a question of time. Those attachments there, unless and until Tesham Evan Kampatam Aham Jnana Jantamaha Nasham Yatma Bhavasto Jnana Deepena Vashvata Chatusloki Gita. There Sri Krishna said, if someone serves and pleases their Gurudev, Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada, by the mercy of Guru one gets the mercy of Krishna. Then Tesham Evan Kampatam, Krishna said, to show special mercy unto them, I appear within their hearts, and I dispel with the shining lamp of transcendental knowledge the darkness born of avidya. That avidya will be gone when the darkness is illuminated by the appearance of Sri Krishna in the heart. Prema bhakti jahoite avidya vinashayate. By associating with Sri Guru and serving Sri Guru, he blesses us with praying, and then the darkness in the heart is destroyed. But until that point, there's always a danger that one can become overpowered by deeply rooted sanskars. And there are so many of them. Many, many, many. So, Mahaprabhu said, if you speak to everyone and tell everyone you meet about Krishna, then I promise you this, that you will not be obstructed by the waves of sense gratification like Subhari Rishi was, like Bharat Maharaj. Is anyone here as qualified as Bharat Maharaj? You know how advanced he was. And Purnapi Etai Pavimora Sangamapu said, and again you have my association. In other words, those who will preach, Mahaprabhu will give his darshan to them. Now, one may raise an objection to this. One may say, but how can I meditate on the confidential moods of Braja if I don't remain in solitude? In reply, we can quote from Bhakti Sandarbha. There, Jiva Goswami Bhakti says, Tattu chamatkara vishesh poshat puravatopya nikam iti deyam. When many persons gather together and they loudly chant the holy names of the Lord, that is called Sankirtan, and it should be understood, apyadikam iti deyam, that this loud chanting congregationally of Harinam Sankirtan is superior to chanting alone or chanting japa alone also. The loud Sankirtan is superior to chanting japa alone. Why? Chamatkar vishesh poshat. Because it causes the nourishment of chamatkar vishesh, intense, astonishing, ecstatic moods. They come from Sankirtan. So then one might say, well, I'm still not convinced. Because if I go out, aren't we going on Sankirtan today?
Yes.
We're going to Gainesville,
Yes.
right? It's a place where we can get some gains in our spiritual life. That's why it's called Gainesville. We can go there and gain some love for Krishna by doing Sankirtan there. So one may say, look, I raise this objection that if we do Nam Sankirtan in public, we'll have to face numerous obstacles. For example, we may have to meet with skeptics, persons who are skeptical of our practice. We may meet the opposite, persons who start worshipping us. Oh, your Sankirtan is so beautiful. That can also be the honor of others, can also be a deadly distraction. Because the Anarthagrasta Jiva cannot digest the honor and worship of others. They take it for themselves. They're incapable of passing it, knowing that actually this honor is actually for Krishna, not for me. Or we may experience physical exhaustion. It's exhausting to go here and there and sing and dance everywhere through the street. So there are no such disadvantages in staying comfortably at home in your room. You don't get exhausted. You don't meet any skeptics. No one's worshiping you. Just next. Why not? So in response, we can say that Srila Sananda Goswami Prabhupada said in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Vichitta Lila Rasa Sagarasya Prabhu Vichittat Kuritat Prasadat Vichitta Sankirtana Madhuri Sa Natu Swayat Nad Iti Sadhu Siddhyat. The meaning is that the depth of realization and the extent of joy that comes from the holy name doesn't depend on us. It doesn't depend on our sadhana. It depends on the happiness of Nam Prabhu. If Nam Prabhu is pleased, he can give the deepest realizations and the most vast expanse of bliss. And no material circumstances can obstruct that mercy of Nam Prabhu, the holy name, when he's pleased with us. So, not only that, but Srila Jiva Goswami also in Bhakti Sandarbha, he said, Tadivam kalau nama kirtana prachar prabhavenaiva parama bhagavat parayanatva siddhir dashita. Thus we have explained that the param bhagavat parayanatva. Parayana means absorption in service. So the param bhagavat parayanatva, the quality of being supremely absorbed in Krishna's service, siddhir darshita. We have shown that it becomes perfect. How? Nama kirtana prachar prabhav. By the influence of engaging in the glorification of the holy name everywhere, then one's own absorption in service to Krishna becomes perfected. So, my Gurudev, he saw I had this wicked duplicitous tendency in me to just be alone and chant a lot. So one day he called me into his room and he said, how much translation did you do today? I said, great. 2 hours. It's not enough. He said, I know you. You're sitting there the whole day. And then he made fun of me. He was impersonating me. You know how I sit like this. And Gurudev took his japamala and he sat up straight like this. And then, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Kuimastriya vanachari vyavachara dushta Krishna kochaisa paramatma niruddha bhava. I'd just been alone and privately relishing this beautiful verse, glorifying the gopis of Vrindavan, spoken by Uddhav. Kuimastriya vanachari vyavachara dushta. Oh, where are these gopis who seemingly are contaminated by deviation from religious principles and now living like wild persons in the forest, having left everything and deviated from the path of Dharma? And where am I? Uddhav is thinking. I'm on the bottom of the mountain and the gopis on the top of the Mount Everest of rain. I cannot even see them. My intelligence is like a hat. And when I look up to try to see the position of the gopis, my hat falls on the ground. That means my intelligence fails. Where are they? Where are those gopis and where am I? I'm nowhere. This is a very beautiful verse for those who want to do bhajan. Srila Prabhupada has recommended, Srila Sanatana Goswami has recommended this verse. So I've been alone and chanting and sometimes meditating on this verse. And now Gurudev said, I know what you were doing. Was he there or not? Was I alone or not? Not alone. Yam pravrajantam anupetam apetrakritam dvaipayano virakatra advava putreti tanmatyotarve vinedus tang sarva bhuta vidayam munimanatosmi. I bow down to my Gurudev who enters into the heart of every living being. So Gurudev knew and he was making fun of me. I know what you're doing. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And he said, you should not think that preaching and translating is separate from your bhajan. Don't think your bhajan is one thing and your preaching and translation is another thing. You should think the preaching and translation is part of your bhajan. The more you chant, the more you will appreciate that service of preaching and translating. And the more you translate and preach, the more you will relish the holy name. There's a synergy between these. Then Gurudev said, I'll make you a bhajan kutir at Radhakund. I'll make one bhajan kutir for you in Radhakund. You can stay there and chant all the time. So then I thought, he's not being straightforward with me. So then I said, Gurudev, what will be the result of that? Then he took his finger and he went like this in the air. Zero. Result will be zero. Why? Because you become like Ekalavya, saying, yes, I'm worshipping my Guru, but actually you're not following anything at all. Bhajan urjita sanjana sangapatim. If we want to do bhajan, we have to be bhajan urjita, empowered to do bhajan. That power comes from becoming one in heart with Gurudev. Becoming one in heart with the spiritual master, then the love in his heart overflows, it's reflected into our hearts. So, Srila Jiva Goswami is saying here, you will become perfect by engaging by the influence of the Nam Kirtan Prachar. In this way, when we compare Rantidev, who was living for others, he conquered Maya, and those who were living for themselves, they fell down. So in the same way, if we engage in chanting, but also trying to spread the holy name to others under the guidance of Gurudev, though we may be in a fallen and contaminated condition, but Mahaprabhu has given the promise that one will be protected from the waves of sense gratification and eventually have the darshan of his lotus feet. Time has gone over, so I will humbly request my Harikatha to take rest here. Sweet dreams. And we'll sing one kirtan, and then there'll be Mahaprasad for everyone. So this morning we have discussed some Siddhanta. In the evening we'll discuss the Lila-Katha, the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gaura Purnima Festival. It's important, if there's a Vaishnava comes, and when they leave, we're supposed to follow them and sing kirtan. So Harikatha is also a transcendental personality. So when the Harikatha is leaving, then it's necessary to have a kirtan at the end to honor. And then the Harikatha may come back. If Harikatha is pleased, then she may manifest again. Jai Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai, Varsani Wali ki jai, Jai Jai Sri Radhe. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Jai Shishi Guru Karana Ganapitani Sisi Ranamaharaj ki jai. Sri Prabhupad Subhari Rishi Rupam Vichara Bhaktivinod Samraj ki jai. Sri Prabhupad Subhari Rishi Sri Prabhupad ki jai. Sri Prabhupad Subhari Bhakti Pragyan Guru Samraj ki jai. Thakura Guru Prabhupad ki jai. Balimaharaj Bharat ki jai. Satyakama Swami Satyakama Bhaktivinod ki jai. Sri Gaura Purnima Festival Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Gaura Purnima Festival Sri bhajan Gaura ki jai. Bhumna Karisi Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Sri Govinda Madan Mohan Ju ki jai. Lord Shiva ki jai. Thakura ki jai. Subhari Rishi ki jai. Nitai Gaura Siddhanath Premanande. Vrindai tulasi gai priyaye kesava sacha Krishna bhakti pradevi satyajaya namo namaha Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripasindhave vacha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.
Prem Prayojan Guru ki
So remember Gayatri, and then just shortly Mahaprasad will be served. Oh look, now we look so beautiful. Sanat Kumar. So this evening we'll begin Gaura Lila, and especially we'll be examining in depth the horoscope of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that was composed by his grandfather Nilambar Chakravarti. So don't be late.
Hare